Hello, beautiful strangers, and welcome back to another episode of Crimson Gray. When last we left off, well, John made a comment that's very possibly a little bit disconcerting. Something that, maybe we should worry about just a little bit. Maybe. Or not. But it doesn't really matter. I'm starting here at the title screen because the title screen's a little bit different, and I just wanted to illustrate that to you. If you want to know what the title screen originally looked like, if you've forgotten, well, go back to the beginning of the first episode. And we're gonna... what was the comment? Right. Just to remind you, John wasn't sure if Lizzie could be cured, and he didn't know if he wanted her to be. Yeah, not the best thing. Also, in case things sound a little bit different, I've messed with the placement of my mic just a little bit. So if things sound a bit different, I apologize. I might fix that later. I might change it around some more. I'm not sure. This is a little bit more comfortable for me instead of having it, how it was placed before. Anyway, let's get back into it, shall we? And we're gonna. Several days later, as they were leaving after school, Lizzie caught up with him, an odd look on her face. John, I'm so happy. Really? I spent so long just watching you, imagining what it would be like to say hello, to hear you say my name, for you to look at me. Then we can actually talk like this. It's like a dream, a wonderful dream I never want to end. I'm happy I met you too, Lizzie. This past week has been fun. What are you doing, Cat? Hold on a moment. I apologize. And I'm back. I hope. Getting into stuff. She is of that age, although not quite as bad as she could be. Anyway. Say, how is the Yondequil working out for you? No unpleasant side effects? It's wonderful. Thank you so much for giving it to me. Well, I hope we can find you some more once this dose runs out. Some drugs you can renew week to week, but I don't know about this one. It could be a pain. Oh no, I wouldn't want you to go to any trouble for me. But it's helping, right? I want you to be able to have more if you want. That's so sweet, but it's not necessary. Now I understand how I need to change. I don't need it anymore. Before, when I confessed to you, you didn't give me a clear answer. Will you now, John? Do you like me? Lizzie, Yes, I like you. But I want proof we're more than just friends. Can we go somewhere together? Somewhere romantic? They might as well. People already thought of them as dating, and she'd seemed so sweet for so long. What was the worst that could happen? Please? We have a lot of options, considering that we have the next week off. But we don't have to wait that long. How about we plan something for Friday night? I don't have a car to pick you up, but I can take you to a nice restaurant. Yes. Good, then it's a plan. Friday. She would still have a day or two left of medication left on Friday. John figured she would stay stable. Maybe the date would leave her happy enough that she'd change her mind about staying on her meds. No matter what mistakes her mother made, Lizzie could be stable with the right treatment. John really thought this could work out between them. Wow, John, this is so nice. As nice as a place to let high school kids in with only a few days reservations anyway. When I asked for a romantic place, I never dreamed it would be this romantic. I'm not dressed up enough for this. This is the kind of place you take someone to propose. Just so it's clear, I'm not going to propose. Oh, well, remember that this is a good place for it. John could only hope that that place would be nice. All he knew about it was that his parents said it was nice back when they were together. They entered, and Lizzie was delighted by everything. The decor, the menu, the lighting, the food. Or maybe she was really just delighted with one thing: the event itself. Fortunately, the staff seemed to find her adorable instead of disturbing, so John found himself relaxing. Even when they were just idly chatting, Lizzie was nice to be around. Midway through the meal, he realized that Lizzie was resting her hand on the table. She wasn't necessarily inviting it, but if he stretched, he thought he could put his hand on top of hers. Ooh, a choice, and another reason to take a drink because I'm a bit thirsty. Tasty. Well, that's really not. I've grown used to it anyway, which is good enough. But let's take her hand. Lizzie's eyes went wide when he touched her. For a moment, just staring as if she couldn't believe it. But after a moment, she gave him a brilliant smile and laced her fingers through his. Okay, he hadn't meant to do that. But John decided he couldn't just awkwardly hold her hand while they ate. That certainly seemed to be Lizzie's intention. She actually wasn't getting a lot eaten since she didn't talk with a mouth full and listening rapidly whenever he talked, but at least it seemed she was having fun. After a while, Lizzie patted her mouth and with her napkin and sighed in satisfaction. She didn't let go of his hand, though. That was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Yeah, it's all really good. Not the food, the date. Oh, but I've made you talk so much you haven't gotten to eat very much. That's okay. No, I'll be quiet and watch you while you eat. So, Lizzie, how about you tell me where you live? Oh, it isn't too special. Just a house. Do you live with someone? I know not your parents, but some other relative? No, it's just me. Abby inherited the house, I think, and she didn't manage to sell it off when things got bad. Abby? My mother. She was an awful woman. I don't want to talk about her. It's a nice enough house, I suppose. Abby wrecked a lot of it, but I've been able to repair most of it with money from James. Your father? I guess, but he never cared enough to meet me. Abby has always complained about him, and the checks don't always come. But I don't want to talk about that. It's horrible, isn't it? People can't even pretend to be in love, just tear into each other. That's not what I want. Not at all. When I fell in love with you, I knew it would last forever. Wouldn't it be nice for us to get a house together? Maybe even build one? So many choices, I can't decide. But I want something we choose together, not something we inherit, some place where we want to live together forever. Maybe a big house, big enough that we can have nice windows, but also rooms inside where no one can see. Maybe a fountain. That sounds horribly expensive. Anyway, Lizzie giggled and squirmed in her seat as if she couldn't contain herself. Her fingers and his gripped so tightly that it almost hurt. But now I'm just saying things. None of that really matters. The only thing is our house that I'll care about is you. It was the longest he had yet gotten her to talk about herself or her goals. And while it was still pretty focused on him, he didn't mind hearing the details. That's a very nice image, Lizzie. Oh, I'm glad you think so. And you finished your food. This has been wonderful, but can we go now? Can we? Only slightly worrying about what she was thinking, John paid the bill, trying not to wince, and then they left the restaurant. They got onto the bus, and Lizzie never let go of his hand the entire time. He began to wonder when she was actually going to let go, and that was when she leaned her head against his shoulder. This feels so nice. Yeah, it does. Really? You enjoyed tonight? I did. It's not often that I can hear you talk about things you want, other than, me. It felt ridiculous to say that, like some kind of boast, and a second later he realized that it might exacerbate her problem, or at least making light of it. But Lizzie just considered his words thoughtfully, then gave a slow nod. I've always wanted to know everything about you, John. I'm glad you want to know about me. John, would you like me less if I stopped taking the medicine? Shit, what was he supposed to say? John desperately racked his brain for a good answer. I like you, Lizzie. I like the person you really are. Is the person you are now the person you really are? What do you mean? I mean, when I get depressed, I don't feel like myself. Medicine might change me, but it just to change me back to myself. But it's not who you are naturally. Does that matter? I mean, we get to choose who we are. Otherwise, we're really not people, just animals. So, who are you, Lizzie? You seem like a nice person now that I've gotten to know you. Is this not who you want to be? Did you feel better before taking the medicine? You liked me tonight? Tonight was wonderful, but I'm not suggesting I didn't like you before. Silly John, don't worry about it. I love you no matter what. Now, would you like to see my house? John froze, not sure how to answer the question. And again, Lizzie had already seen his house. Maybe she just wanted to open up. He said he'd like to hear her talk about herself, after all. If she was actually offering to let him into her life a little more, it would be stupid of him to turn it down. Sure, Lizzie. I'd love to see it. Oh, I'm sure you will. Absolutely sure. He'd planned to take her to her stop, just to be gentlemanly. But now, John found himself getting off at the same place. Lizzie eagerly stepped off from the bus stop, looking back to make sure that he was following. In the end, she led him to a small house. It was a cozy little thing, much warmer and more pleasant than he'd expected. Here it is. It's cozy. You don't need to flutter my house, silly. All that matters is that we'll be here. She led him inside and showed him around. Though it was very strange and erratic to her, he wondered if this was the first time she'd ever shown someone inside her home. The inside of her house was less cozy than outside, not because of the house itself, but because of how bare it was. A few rooms looked as though they'd been used, but the rest looked like they were out of a catalog. It mimicked a house, but it didn't look like a place where anyone lived. The only thing that didn't match the catalog image was a heavy metal door on a side hallway. Lizzie didn't make the slightest reference to it or even seem to notice it existed. This picture, is it your mother? Oh, that. Forgot I even had that. Lizzie didn't seem to care, but John was curious enough to pick up the frame and look closer. He was surprised to find his hand immediately coated in dust. It had to be years worth of dust. How could Lizzie have lived here for so long and never even disturbed a picture sitting on a table like this? In any case, he could see where Lizzie got her good looks from, but other than that, she and her mother didn't look very much alike. There was something in Lizzie's eyes and posture that was just lacking in her mother. She was on the bench with some man. Neither looked like they were enjoying themselves. Maybe he was imagining things, but he could practically see the growing enmity between them. Absurdly, his mood began to decline. It was just a random relationship from people he didn't know. It had nothing to do with him. Yet, the idea of people producing a child from a relationship they obviously cared so little about sent him into a spiral. John, you shouldn't be sad. Our house wouldn't have anything like this in it. No, I was just... Don't worry. I want to be around every second of it, every day, forever. But I know that wouldn't work when we grow up. I can get a job, I'm good at lots of things. It won't be sad being apart, but... we can call each other at work and send each other things, and when we get home and see each other again after so long, it will feel so good. Her picture of the future actually sounded nice, lifted a little cloud in his head, but he couldn't find a way to put that into words, so he said nothing. Undeterred, Lizzie encouraged him into the living room and pushed him down onto a large couch. Oops, alright, but my desk. It hadn't seen much use, but it was free from dust and gloriously soft. You stay here, okay? Give me a moment to change out of this. John swallowed and stayed where he was. He didn't have a lot of experience, but he'd heard his friends talk about their exploits. He thought a lot of it was lies, but was there something to what they said? If Lizzie really came out wearing lingerie or something else crazy, he didn't know what he would do. He honestly didn't. Part of him that had been asleep for so long liked that idea, fantasized about what might happen. Another part of him was incredibly nervous to even consider the idea of being closer to her. He couldn't keep sitting there. His nerves would destroy him. Instead, John got up and began to look around the house more carefully. The dustiest part of the house seemed to have remnants of Lizzie's mother. At least he didn't think Lizzie would be into cheap little glass figurines. Opening one of the rooms, he discovered that it was an unused bedroom. He was about to go get it, but he was about to go when he spotted another picture frame sitting beside the bed. This one featured Lizzie as a child, sitting on her mother's lap. It struck him so strongly that he immediately went to take a closer look at it, not caring that his hands got even dustier. Lizzie's mother was glowing and obviously proud of her daughter, while Lizzie ignored her entirely. No, not just ignored her. There was a flat emptiness to her eyes, as if they weren't even related. It didn't seem to stop her mother in the picture, but the distance between them was agonizing. Why would anyone keep a picture like that, much less framed it? John stared at it a while longer, then set it down and left the room. To give a bit of an answer to that, it could very likely just be the only picture of Lizzie her mother had. Or at least picture of them together or something like that. Both Lizzie and Miss Smith? Yeah, I think it was her. Said that Lizzie's mom had substance issues in the past, so this could very well be the only picture that her mother has of the two of them when her mother was sober, for example. But I don't know. Just a guess. Oh, I didn't read that. Oops. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. Never mind. The look Lizzie had been giving her mother, those eyes shouldn't have belonged to a human child. John didn't want to think about it a second longer, so he rushed out of the room as fast as he could. Desperate for something to take his mind off that unpleasant thought, John looked around for anything else. The door next to the bedroom was jammed, but he wrenched it open and stared. The room was filled with pictures of him, his yearbook photos, but also lots of pictures of him in class, pictures she must have taken herself. Oh, fuck, there were pictures of him sleeping in his own bed. For a moment, he just stood there, trembling. Then John snapped back to his senses. He immediately stepped back and closed the door, trying not to make a sound. He told himself he shouldn't be so surprised. He knew she was obsessed, but it still shook him. He was inside his stalker's house. John? Yes, I just wandered off. I'm coming back. Good. There's something I want to show you. But, John? Oh, what are you doing with that axe? You don't trust me, John. That makes me so sad. You think I'm going to trust you when you're coming at me with an axe? I tried to be patient. I can't wait any longer. So I needed to take matters into my own hands. Hold still, John. Uh-huh. There's a yandere coming at us with an axe telling us to hold still. Well, we gotta... Okay. She said she won't hurt us. Let's hold her to that. Please don't hurt us. Lizzie, please don't do this. John, I won't hurt you. Don't you know that? Please. Frowning, Lizzie set her axe down on a side table as she moved forward. John watched it nervously, but relaxed a little. That was when he realized that her other hand was the real threat. The cloth was over his mouth and nose instantly, and though he tried to struggle, he couldn't break free her grip, and the chemical fumes overwhelmed him. Fun fact, chloroform does not work that quickly. I don't know if that was like ether or something, which I believe does work pretty quickly. But the generic, chloroform rag over somebody's mouth takes like minutes to get enough fumes. I think you have to use like ether or something like that, but I don't remember for sure. And ether is, I don't know about the 80s, but ether is extremely hard to get. It's an extremely controlled substance. It's extremely strong, extremely dangerous, extremely powerful. Bad shit. Anyway, John woke to the feeling of something tight on his wrists. At first, he thought he must be tangled in the sheets, but when he tried to move his hands, they were stuck. The memories returned in a bitterly cold flood. Lizzie had actually knocked him out by force and brought him wherever he was. His blurry vision slowly returned, and he could make out a rough basement around him. He could just see a heavy metal door at the top of a set of stairs. It looked as though there were shelves and tools around the walls, but he couldn't pay attention to those. Not with Lizzie standing in front of him, eyes fixated on his face. I'm glad you're awake now. Are you feeling okay? Okay? You've... I didn't want it to have to be this way, John, but I didn't have a choice. You're confused, John. You don't understand how much this matters. I'll help you understand. What are you gonna do to me? Don't be afraid, John. Everything's gonna be all right. I'm completely empty. There's nothing inside of me. There's never been anything inside of me. The emptiness craves something. I didn't understand what I needed for years and years. Eventually, I realized that I needed a person, a specific person, but I didn't know who. Occasionally, there would be a flicker of feeling. I'd want someone for a while, but they were never what I needed. Nothing actually mattered. Till I met you. But why did... Let me finish. For so long, I could barely even bear to look at you. The feelings were too intense. And then I couldn't bring myself to talk to you. I was afraid it would all just disappear. But the feelings didn't go away. They got stronger. You were made for me, John. You need to understand that. But you don't understand because you're confused. That's why I need to keep you here. You think this is going to help? It may be difficult at first, John, but you'll come to understand. I promise you will. After all, I have days and days with you all to myself. Days and days. John recalled they were going into a full week of vacation. That meant she could keep him here a full 9 days before they returned to school. That was no accident. She'd coldly planned the entire thing. Maybe she'd been manipulating him before she even asked for the date. Part of him was terrified. Part of him was furious. And another part, his depression, saw a twisted mirror of his own feelings. But the worst he had ever done was say unkind things, not this. Just what did she plan to do to him anyway? As he looked around the basement, he saw a lot of heavy tools. Some of the hammers and knives looked as if they'd been used. John slumped against the ropes binding him to the chair and just wept. He wasn't sure how long the release of emotions continued, but when it was over, John felt as though his mind had been purged. His current situation might be pretty bad, but he still had options. He could figure out something, assuming he figured out what he even wanted to do. The sane thing to do would be to find a way to escape, contact the police, or maybe it would be safer to convince Lizzie to calm down and take medication, not hurt him. John, we're going to have so much, we're going to have ever so much time together. Aren't you excited? He needed to say something, turn the situation around, but it was just so hard to focus. Before I got to know you, I thought this would be the easy part. I thought I understood how people worked. Some things never made sense to me, but others are so simple. Lizzie walked up to one of the walls and began to run her fingers over the tools there. She picked up a knife and caressed the edge, partially turned away from him. I thought that once I found you, I could make you mine, and then I would feel whole. But you see, I underestimated just how much you would change me. I'm so much happier, and everything is so much more complicated. She walked over to him, wearing a soft, loving expression, but still holding the knife. John froze and held his breath as she walked behind him. I want all of you, John, even the parts I didn't know existed before. If I hurt you, I would never really have what I want. The knife slid past his face, but only as Lizzie moved to embrace him. She wrapped her arms around his neck and pressed herself against his back, inhaling deeply. I love you so much. I wouldn't be satisfied with just a shell of you. Without warning, she pulled back. The adoration in her expression was gone, replaced with an empty gaze fixated on him. But that makes this so much harder. What are you going to do to me? I don't know. I wish I knew. I took time to think, but it didn't help. Aha! We're at a choice, an impasse, a fork in the road, a crossroads in life. No, I will probably never stop doing that. And no, I will not think it's not funny every time, because it's just so dumb. Anyway, you have a choice. Beg for release, or you can try to reason with her, or you can try to charm her. What do you think is going to work? I know what we're going to do. But, that's for next time, and I hope to see you all there.